Streaming. Good morning, guys.
Morning, sir.
Afternoon. Oh, thank you.
Sir.
Oh, no, it's not afternoon yet. It's still 20 past 11. So close. Okay. What we're doing here is we've gotten our arrays, and we had two different arrays. This term, we're not going to be dealing with two different arrays and working with that. This is actually more second term stuff that I'm going to be working with you guys. We are only going to be working with this term, an individual array, and working with a single array. Now we have two arrays that have object orientation passing between them and so forth. And we had just finished up with the GetPos. Now GetPos would return an integer value of that title. So look through every single position in the array. Remember we had that Excel spreadsheet which I managed to lose, one of those. But what you'll see is it would loop through every single position in the array and search to see if that title equals the title we're searching for, and then return the position if it does. Do you guys remember that? Now, there's two different ways of doing a search. That's why I said option A is that you just return the position in the array where that object can be found. And another version is where you, option B, is where you actually return the physical object. So instead of returning int, you return a physical object of it's game, right? So a physical game object. So I can say game gets game open brackets string title. Now instead of us returning the position, what we do is we actually return the game position GetPos. So the method is the exact same, meaning I would loop through the whole entire array. I would find, if I had to code it like this, so notice if I can just solve it like that by just running the method GetPos and then saying returns games at position GetPos of this title, and that will return the whole object rather than just returning the position in the array. It returns the object, or at least reference to the object, so you can refer to that object later on. Does that make sense? Okay. Now what I could have done, if I only got asked, if I didn't ask to code a GetPos, I could have done this. If I did that, now I also want to show you why the other one was wrong. In this case, I would return games position I, and here instead of -1, if I did not find it, I would return null. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
So if I find it, I return. If that title is equal to that title, return that object. Does that kind of make sense? So if I find it at position 2, it will return J22. So that whatever the object that is returned is the same object as what it found in the array. Now, you return null, meaning it doesn't exist, it's null, it's the same as -1. Now, do you guys see why my earlier solution was wrong? Why is this wrong?
So I want to know how to check if it's the right one.
Make sure that check if it exists. So in other words, if this returned -1, the program would cause an error saying, whoa, you're referring to position -1 in the array, what the hell? So I would have to do an if statement. I'd have to say, I'd have to put this in an if else, and then I'd have to say if GetPos.title. So in other words, I'd have to actually get the position first, which is a bit annoying. End pos is equal to that. I then say if pos is not equal to -1, then return games pos, else return null. Sorry, what is what?
Return when you say if pos doesn't equal -1.
Yes.
You return.
I'm returning game GetPos returns to me the position in the array where this game was found, or the title game was found. And then if pos is equal to -1, which means it is equal to -1, which just becomes false, it will return null. I could have done it the other way around. Depending on how you guys see things, you could have done it this way around if you wanted to. So basically you check if it hasn't been found, then return null, else return the position. Same thing. Some of you guys might argue that I should say this. But quite frankly, and that could allow you to, for example, return different error codes.
Position was greater than null, but it was returned null.
position is smaller than
No, if it's 0, if it's smaller than 0, we need -1, -2, -3, -4, whatever. But I mean, quite frankly, in this case, we could just say equal to -1. But yeah, whatever. Yes, Nick. No, don't worry, pal. It's good questions actually. You need to ask those questions because otherwise, there's probably 2 other people who are thinking the same thing as you, just not asking. So ask.
So could you have it in this if statement to say like, so for different errors, let's say error -1 means there's no game, and error -2 means there's the game, there's no rating. So could you put this?
You could, but generally speaking, you wouldn't do that here. You would actually just return the whole game object, and if it returns a null, it means there's nothing. I can't look at anything. And if the game object's returned, I can then check the specific details. Because if you return, you still want to show the information that does exist, even if it's negative.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, you could do that, John.
So then, if let's say -1 means there is a game, there is a rating, so then you can say return game because -1 means there's no game, right? Then you can say return null because there's nothing. But then let's say -2 means there's a game, there's no rating. Then you would say you can return games, but then you would say error and no rating.
You wouldn't do that just purely on the basis of one reason alone, is that the pos determines where that game is. If you're saying there is a game and you return -2, but then where's the game?
Okay,
Because you return -2, so it's like it's in the wrong position.
Yeah,
So you would just return the game.
Yeah.
So that's why, yeah.
And then you would return no ratings in further up.
When you retrieve that object, you would go and look at that object and go, is there a rating, that kind of stuff. Alright, now, on from there, so here we've actually got the whole game on there. Sorry. So this is the search function. So then, when we wanted to add a rating, now I'm only going to go into this part and then I'm going to give you guys the exercise. This part, as I said, we'll predominantly go more into next term. But I want to add the rating. When I go ratings, position num ratings, so I go through the exact same way, is equal to new rating, and I now need to send a game and rating. I don't have a game object. What I can do is I can now just say get game and send through the title. Now I'm going to explain this now because it is quite, we are working between multiple different objects here. But what we're doing is I've got my games array and I am going into here and I'm saying add ratings, get game title. So let's actually use our data as an example. Let's say I want to add a rating for CSS. So I have sent to the user saying I want to add a rating of CSS, the value 7. That's what the user sends through as a parameter. So into title and rating. The 2 things that are sent is CSS and a rating of 7. Yes.
So why is your num rating only adding 1? Because surely if the user inputs
because it's a one individual rating
okay, well, how
object.
How would you know how many ratings does it have to come up to?
When I get into the user interface, it'll answer that question on there. Yeah.
Okay.
The user would input, okay, I want to give this game this rating.
Okay, and then we'll add until. But then shouldn't you use a for loop?
No, because you add it as the user enters it. Later on, we learn how to read from storage files and so forth, and that would then you work with then data that's then you loop through the text file. But right now, we just say if the user enters something or does something, or we can hard code it or whatever it might be. Yeah. Okay, now on from there, if we go down to we've got here new rating, get game, title, rating, and we've got num rating plus plus. Now I'm going to go through that here. We sent through CSS and 7. So CSS is in string title, right? So we go to this. Remember, we read through it this way and then we execute back this way. So rating, get game title. So it sends through. What does it send through to get game? CSS. So CSS goes to get game, it gets get position. So it goes to my loop. It loops through here. So it goes to position 0. Does J6 equals to CSS? Yes, it does. So it returns this object, doesn't it? Or at least memory reference this object. So this object gets added into my. This is my my ratings array. So let's say my ratings array is here. So this is my ratings array, and this is position 0, 1, so forth. So it gets added into my num ratings gets put further back. So num ratings get plus by 1. So J6, because it found CSS in here, got given that, and then it got given the value 7. Does this make sense? Okay, so then if I now send through, let's say Mario Kart, and I send through the value 5, what will happen is it goes into here, Mario Kart gets sent through to the title and then cost. Sorry, here, title and rating. So it's Mario Kart that. So it runs getGame method loops through the whole entire array. So it goes through to J6. Does J6 equal to CSS? Does, then goes to the next one? No. Mario Kart, yes it does. That's J22. So it's J22. Now remember, it just puts the memory address there. And it increments num rating and it sets it to be 5. Because remember, num rating gets incremented each time. Because we go num ratings plus plus. So that after we add it to there, we increment num ratings, pointing to the next location in the array. So the next place we're going to write to in the array. Does that make sense? Yes, no? It always points to the next location. So this way we are looking at an object in one array. Now you'll notice I'm not creating multiple objects. All I'm doing is I'm creating multiple places that can refer to the object. So if we have another rating now for CSS and they gave it 0, okay, it will then refer to the same object. It will go look through this array, find CSS over here, refer to J6. So in num ratings position, we'll say that J6 is 0. Now, both position 0 in the array and position 2 in the array both point to J6 as the game. So both ratings are referring to the same game. Do you guys get that? Now, as I said, this concept is second term. We're going to be working more on this. But what I want you guys to mostly be aware of is how to add to an array, how to do a search, and how to do a toString. Those are your main things. Now, I want to show you now how to do the GUI. Now, realize your GUI is literally going to ask you, I'm just going to call this GUI, a GUI object. In your GUI, all you need to do is you guys will need to create, in this case what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a text area over here. I'm then going to create a, just bear with me while I create this quickly. I'm going to say here, first thing, I'm actually going to create a panel at the bottom here. Sorry, excuse me for doing this. I'm going to delete this because I want to make my layout a bit better. Okay, I'm going to set my layout to free design. Sorry, border layout. I'm going to put a panel in the north section. I'm going to put a J text area in the central top area. Whoa. Not allow me to enter or add it into there. No, I've got already 2 panels. I've got a label there. That's freaky. Okay, that's why I hadn't deleted the label. Sorry, let me do that again. Okay, so a panel in the south, a text area in the main area. In this panel, I want to set this panel to be a grid layout. The grid layout I'm going to go and I'm going to set to be 2 rows by 1 column if my properties aren't there at the moment. Hey, where did I put my properties? Oh, there they are. Okay, so I want 1 column, 2 rows. I am then going to add 2 panels. But this guy's, you should be getting quicker at doing this kind of stuff. So I'm adding a panel and another panel. First panel, I'm just going to put the border of a title border saying game. And then on the second panel, I'm going to put a title border and I'm going to say rating. Now, in here, I am going to create a what is it doing? Text area, text input box, text field, and then here we're going to ask for a title, And what was the other thing that we wanted in our game other than the title? We wanted rating, which was a number, right? So rating, we'll go, I suggest we use a spinner. Yeah, there's things, it's very weird going into this if it's a, there's a spinner. Okay, spinner, and then the spinner will be the rating, right? So not rating, cost. Label, I'm getting myself dizzy here. And this will be the cost, and I'll then have a button to add game. Cool, do you guys get that? Now, for the rating, I want the same kind of thing. So if I select all of them here, Now, one thing that I don't like here is technically, for the title of the game, I would want to, we're not going to bother about this term, but obviously when you guys create a proper project, you wouldn't want to ever have a game or get the user to enter the game that they want. You would want them to be able to select a game from the games you have stored. Does that make sense?
Why not?
Because otherwise the user types in it with a small C or a big C, or types in Counter-Strike source, or Counter-Strike source, or CSS. So they might be referring to the same game, but giving different names to it. So there might be, so you'll never get the user to input it. You would limit the input to what values exist. Otherwise, you're going to have invalid data. So that's what we would do in the real world. But right now, I just want to get some basic input so I can show you how to add it to it. Does that kind of make sense? So, and we needed to create a duplicate of this. I don't know why that kind of got lost, but anyway. So then this would be rating over here. So title of game, and this would be the rating. And then this would be cool. And this would be then text saying add rating. Now, this would be the area to just. I can't open up my frame now. Or has it just become so small? Okay, there we go. Alright, so are you guys happy with the fact that this layout will have these to add games, and over here I'd want it to display all the games? Do you guys get that? I think I should actually have a button somewhere just to say display all. Or I can just display all. As we add stuff, we can display update our display. Alright, now, so I've saved everything. When we tap, first thing I want is in my GUI, we need to create an instance of our working. Does this make sense? In my GUI, I need an instance of my ratings manager, and I'm going to call it RMan. So I'm creating and declaring an instance of RMan. I am then going to initialize my RMan. Yeah? Yes, no?
Yeah.
So I'm now initialized it. Now, what I want to do is I want to create a method public void display all. Now, what this will do is update my display to display the toString of it. So if I go now and let me name my text field so I can refer to it, txt display. I'm just going to name these things while I'm doing that. So txt game. Sorry, txt game title, SPN cost, txt ratings title, SPN ratings. Okay, now in my source I will go txt display.setText to be rman.toString. So right now, what will that display? Nothing. It will display blank. Because there's no games and there's no ratings being added to my array. So if you look here, my loop here for my toString says SAll while less than num games. You guys get that? I'm not going to do the ratings in this specific instance. I'm only going to do the games here. But now if I go and I say, sorry. If I now go and I say txt_display.setText rman.toString, that would display only the games that have been added, but we've added no games. So we need to create a method, public void add games, and this add game actually singular because it's adding an individual game. And on this method, we would say string title is equal to txt game title dot get text. You guys remember this from last year?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I would say, Enzo, this is the part where I don't think you were dealt with so much GUIs, so just please pay attention to this. String, if I go string, sorry, now I want int cost of the game. So now I say int cost. How did we get values from a spinner?
Get value.
Dot get value. But then, after we get the value, what data type is the value?
Object.
An object. So what do we have to do?
what's that thing called?
Cast it into an integer. Now remember, I should have, what I hadn't done yet is I hadn't changed my model to make sure that it only allowed numbers, integers, between 0 and I could say 10 here. So I've limited the user to input the values that I need to be inputted. Now, when I save this, you'll see that now I haven't actually got this to run when I tap add game. So now I'll go add, I'll run the method add game. Now, the other thing I must remember to do, at the moment, is it going to display anything? No, I need to first go ratings manager dot add game, send through the title and cost, and then run display all. I'm going to go over this again slowly after I just press play to show you that it works. So, oh, you know what? It doesn't work. You know why it doesn't work? Because guess what my main class is? It's running test. So how do we change my main class? We go right click to the properties of our game. Under there where it says, I can't actually remember, build, nope, run, there we go, run. The main class here, you can browse for the main class and you can change your main class to a different class. Now it will run from my GUI, so now when I run it, it'll run this. And now if I say game CSS like we did in the other one, what was the cost? We said 200, right? Add game. CSS R0. What?
You're limited to your price of game.
Oh, yeah.
That's funny. Yeah,
Oh, so it didn't work.
it went to a 0. Now, so a spinner case, let's say $10,000. Okay, or whatever it is. Now, if I press play and we run this again, thanks for picking it up. So I said CSS and I said 200, and I'm going to add game. You see, CSS 200 is there now. When I go and I say, what was Mario Kart? I don't remember which order we did it. Mario Kart for 50 was a Pac-Man first, but okay. Then you'll see now CSS Mario Kart. But now all of these are stored, so I can work with them. So if I did add ratings, and all of this would be here. So now whatever I do, Fortnite, and this was 0, add game, it would add it to the array, and it is an array now. And if I wanted to search for it, it would also allow me to search for it. So if I went to find something, I could update. I could make a search for game here, and if it existed, I could pop that game up here.
If you put a random game, if you typed in a random game, it would work. Like you just typed in. And yeah.
Expensive.
Hey!
Bacon, new game.
That game better
Guys,
than-
at the end of the day, none of this is going to go in unless you practice it. I'm going to go over just the logic once more, and then I'm going to give you guys your exercise. So now I'm rating. I don't want to do in this video because now with ratings we can add, but I'm not really displaying it. So ratings I could go. So for okay, do you guys want me to add the rating?
Yes.
Okay, for add rating, literally we will just create a method going public void add rating. Okay, I'll then say string game is equal to txt rating dot title dot get text semicolon. I'll then go int rating is equal to int spn rating dot get value. That's not a dot, that's a comma. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll then go rman dot add rating. I'll send through the title, which is the game title, and the rating that I gave it. I'll then go and run my display all. But now I realize my display all doesn't display the ratings. So in my ratings manager, I've only got a toString which only returns the games. It doesn't return its rating. But now, technically, I need to create a method that will return a string. Oh, I didn't want to do this. This is a filter. Because, in other words, I would want a game and then all the ratings for that game. Does that kind of make sense?
Okay, so maybe we shouldn't do that.
So I don't really want to do a filter with you guys yet.
Yeah, I don't think we should.
Yeah, that's enough.
So all I'm going to do
Let's go
is I'm just going to do exactly like a toString, but this one's going to be called public string get ratings. And then now, instead of num games, I'm going to loop up to num ratings. And then instead of games I'm going to say ratings game I. And then what technically I could do is every time after I add a rating, I could just go txt display dot set text to be rman dot get ratings. And now what will happen if I run this now? First, I'm just going to add CSS price 200. Add game. I want to add then Pac-Man 50. Add game. And now if I say I want to add a ratings of CSS to the value of 5, add rating, it doesn't do anything. Wahaha. Oh, I haven't coded the button. Thank you. I know. And I don't do it all the time. The reason why I shouted you guys for doing it because it's a mistake I make. So I'm trying to get the mistake out of you guys before you become me. Don't do what I do what I say, damn it. Alright, now I have to add all those games again. Oh yeah. Okay, P got a value of 2. C got a value of 3. So now I could say a rating for P is 1. Ratings for, okay, my ratings toString is horrible. But you check that there. So now if I give another rating to P, there's 2 ratings for P. If I now give 1 for C, there's now 1 rating for C. If I now go and add a game called D, all those games are still there. But basically we have now 2 arrays, one with the ratings, one with the games. And later, what we'll do next term is we'll learn to filter the ratings. So in other words, what I could do is in my toString, I'll display the game, and then all the ratings and the average of all the ratings. Does that make sense? So we can learn how to do those kind of things. Right now, all I care about is you guys get the toString working, which I just want to go through once quickly, and then I'll get to questions, Shane. Okay, an array is very similar to a variable, but it's a variable with multiple pointers inside it. So in the square brackets, whatever number's in there is that position of the array. So like I'm referring to here, there's an array called games. And it can refer to 0, 1, 2, 3. It's like multiple different positions where I can store stuff. Whereas in a variable, it's like I. It can only store 0 or 1 or 2. It can't store positions or multiple positions. It can only store one value. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, back in the code, I just wanted to go through a couple of things on there. Is one, you'll notice that I can just add stuff to it and I call methods. All my working happens inside here. This does everything for me and it keeps track of it and allows a lot of opportunities going from there. I think you guys are good to try the exercise, eh? We'll see. Alright, cool. Let's do it.